Listen-only mode.
Hi, this is Victoria O'Brien with the ACR in the NRDR division. We're presenting the third segment of the LCSR Ask Victoria Q&A webinar. A few housekeeping issues such that everyone has been placed on mute so that if you want to ask a question, you can use the icon in your dashboard to raise your hand, and we can unmute you and let you speak. Otherwise, while we're presenting, if you would like to, you can enter your question into the question box, also on the GoToWebinar panel. And then we can read your question out loud and present it to everyone in the forum. Today I'd like to present a live demonstration of some of the forms that you've already seen, some of the data entry that you might be struggling with, and also some additional resources. I did want to preempt some of the questions to address the CMS requirements, Medicare requirements, and reimbursements, as these will not be discussed in today's session. We have an entirely different website and webinar which is designed and presented by our economics division. They have their own FAQs, and also it's headed up by Anita McLaughlin, so that if you have the questions about your Medicare patients and reimbursements and how does this data tie in together, and if any of the data is missing, how does this affect your reimbursement, those questions would then go to a different person, and I've provided their information here. I've put together a slide deck of 21 slides so that when we've completed the webinar, I can send these to you, and you can use the links and also listen to the webinar again if you'd like to. So, getting started, I thought we would go through just the different styles of submitting data, most especially because as you received an email last week, we're running into quarter 3, which is the beginning of July, so July 1 through the end of September. All data that's been captured by your facility through the end of September should be entered into the LCSR registry through your registered facility. And if you have multiple registered facilities and a master facility, I need to let you know now not to enter any of your data into the master facility. All of the data has to go to the specific facility that the screening image originated at. So if you have follow-up information to a screening, then you would enter that at the child facility ID level. And we can go through some scenarios on what to do if you entered information at the wrong facility, how to get it from there to the right facility within your master child registration. You can perform a manual data entry, which is probably the most used format for submitting your data. We'll go through that in detail and your questions. There's also the flat file upload. There are specifications, and they are provided in our user guide, and I'm providing a link here for that. So for the flat file upload, we have specific information in Appendix 1, 2, and 3 that directs you through how to configure your computer or your laptop so that your file can be delimited with the vertical bars. And then also the position of each data field and the condition under which the data needs to be submitted. And that's called a business rule. Not every cell within the template that we offer is a free text cell. We need for you to make sure that your responses are appropriate to the business rules, and we can take a look at that a little bit too. I get questions a lot, and I'm shifting here a little bit to the data entry. What is a reconstructed image? What are you looking for? What is the time current? I'm sorry, we were going through this yesterday. Some of the CTDI vol questions and the DLP and related questions to the actual image. If you're not certain where to find that information on the scan itself, we also provide a bit more of an explanation in the data dictionary, what it is and where you might be able to find those data elements. I've also included here, because this is also a common question, is what are the minimum data elements? And we do have an actual minimum for a successful submission of data. This minimum, and I want to take a look at it now, takes a look at the minimum requirements according to the CMS for your Medicare patients and what the CMS is requiring, and then also the minimum requirement for participation within the lung cancer screening registry. So what we've done is we've broken these two requirements into two tables. The very first table here is data to be sent to the CMS every quarter. I'm asked that quite a bit. How often do we submit Medicare patient data to the CMS? And it is quarterly. So it is a rolling quarter. So every time you submit data, we are updating them with that information. So it's not just data within those 3 months, but all the data that has come in before that period of time as well. So when you get an opportunity, you can look through these particular data fields and then also the more granular data that they're asking for as well. So you see the CTDI vol down here and indication for exam and so on. If you come down a little bit further to the second page, these are the additional required fields. These are required by the Lung Cancer Screening Registry, which is us. We collect more than the required minimum by the CMS, mainly because this is a clinical, it's a registry where we're looking at more than just the Medicare patients, but we're also looking at non-Medicare patients and how the screening affects early detection of lung cancer and lung disease. How is it effectual? There's a lot to consider, and so in order to look into those particular questions, we collect additional data, and you'll see here that the additional data may look like the follow-up diagnosis, a tissue diagnosis, tissue method, and so on. So we do collect a great deal more data. All told, we collect 84 data fields, and not every patient, of course, is going to be able or would even qualify for all 4 data fields, because they may not need follow-up exams, and that's where the bulk of our data is coming from. I want to look at the user guide fairly quickly. This is a tool that I think many of you are familiar with, but it doesn't contain all the FAQs. And fact, it contains only a few. We try to capture as many as we can in the user guide and then conduct these webinars on the side to augment what's in the user guide. And if you feel there's a way that we can enhance the user guide to make it a little more friendly, certainly submit your suggestions and we'll review it to see if we can include that in this particular document. This is really kind of our go-to document, at least it is for me. And if I can simplify some of this information in here, I certainly will. Looks like it's taking a little bit of time to load. What I also want to do is get to the portal, because we're going to be looking at logging in. I'm going to log in as though I am a registry administrator on our test account. So what we're going to look at is simply test data. It's not real data, so I don't want anyone to feel alarmed by that. It looks like our user guide is still loading. Here we go. I'm going to just reduce that screen a little bit. The user guide does, I want to just look at the table of contents. Here it's our forms and data dictionary information here, but specifically today we're looking at data collection and the various ways to collect that data. You can see that a great deal of time and effort has gone into explaining the manual data entry process, how to complete each of the different sections, and we'll look at that in the live demonstration, and then how you can go back and find a form, either an exam form or the registration form, and edit that case or even cancel a case. And we do not delete data, but we can certainly make sure that the case is canceled. And when it's in a cancellation status, it does not get sent to CMS and it does not get incorporated into your quarterly feedback reports. For the flat file upload, again, I explained that we do have appendices 1, 2, and 3, but there's also a little bit of information here on page 26 that explains the actual flat file, how to upload a flat file once it's been configured. And then the reports. I'm going to go through the reports in the slide deck. I've got it a little more laid out for you. This is probably just I think a little less condensed than what I have. So we've got, if I can get here, our very first appendix, which is how to convert your LCSR upload template to a .txt file. This link will take you directly to our template where you can begin to populate this template. It looks as though it's an Excel file, but it isn't. We'll look at this. All right, I'm going to go back to where I started. And what it is it's actually a .csv file. And a .csv file means that we've kind of taken one extra step out of the equation. The Excel file, which can contain formatting, we took that out. We got rid of the Excel template and we replaced it with a .csv file. It will not retain formatting, but it will retain your data, and that makes that upload process that much easier. And I'll show that document to you here, and then I'll also correct the link in my in my slide deck. So here we are on the lung cancer screening page. This is a resource page for you. It's sponsored by the NRDR, which is us. And you'll see here it is 3 links down, the upload template for the record layout. And it will try and launch again as an Excel document. But when you go to save it, you'll see that it is a .csv file. So when you expand the columns, you'll see that you need the unique identifiers. And these are explained in great detail in Appendix 3 of the lung cancer screening, the lung cancer screening user guide. So once you've populated this and you've begun your upload process, if you run into any errors, certainly contact us and we'll review your upload through an audit log and see if we can't work with you to correct that template, especially before the deadline, which is at the end of the month. If any of you would like to work with your certified vendors, these are increasing almost by the month. There are more and more vendors that qualify and certify, and they have to go through authentication and testing with our IT department. So these have been vetted, and you can work with them. They have different pricing structures. We don't carry their pricing structures, but you would have to click on the link. It will take you to their webpage, and you can get the information from there. With that, I want to go to our login page and begin a demonstration. This is under the assumption, this presentation is under the assumption that you have certainly registered your facility and that you also have rights to log in as a user. Now, the lowest user, the lowest user type is actually as a facility user, and I would prefer that you not be registered as a facility user if you're going to assist in the lung cancer screening process. If you're going to add data, you can be a facility user, but if you have to go back and edit that data, a facility user type that low won't allow you to edit any of the forms that have already been created. So if you have a facility user type, ask your facility administrator for that particular account to change it to registry administrators so that you have as many capabilities as is possible. You not only can initiate the forms process, but you can go through and edit them and add information as it becomes available to you, such as biopsy data or a pathology report. You may want to go into the exam form and begin to populate section B with that information. All right, what I'd like to do is maybe start to take some questions about some of the data entry perhaps problems or issues that you've been running into. Lou, if you get an opportunity, you can unmute someone or read the question.
We have a question. I'm afraid I've been entering all data your facility. Can you tell us where you find parent and child facility information? Is there a way to easily remedy this issue?
Where to find that information? Well, you'd have to have a list of all your facility IDs. There isn't an easy way to find all of the related facility IDs. If you're not certain what all your facility IDs are, send us an email to nrdr@acr.org. Give us at least one of your facility IDs, and then we can run a query and look at all of them and then send that back to you. The answer to your question about moving data around, if you already have data that's been submitted to a particular facility ID, you would have to cancel that data and then log out of this particular facility ID and then log into the correct one and add the data there. So there really isn't an easy way to move data. The way to cancel data that's been submitted is to do it working backwards. It's a two-step process. You would find your patient, and then you would open the exam form first. And once your exam form opens, you would scroll to the bottom and click cancel. And once you've been able to, and here we go, I've got my exam form open for this particular case. Go down to the bottom and then click cancel. That will cancel the exam form, which is one part of the total case. The case is made up of two forms, the registration form and the exam form. Now that you've canceled the exam form, you want to find the exact same case in the registration table. We're going to go to the registration table and find the patient here. Got the number. You open this up and you do exactly the same thing. So you click on the case number, you open the form. Once it launches, go down to the bottom and click cancel. Once you've canceled both forms, you have then put the case in a cancellation status. And here we go, we've got cancel. And when we get back to the top, you can refresh your page. I like to just refresh it by clicking on the registration link again so I can get back the table. And in the table here, for this particular patient, you can see that the case has now been canceled. Next question.
Okay, let's see. I noticed that you're using the September 2016 edition of the user guide. The user guide on the website is for January 2016. When will the new edition be available on the website?
I'm sorry, I'm using a older, let's see, the user guide here. The most recent or the latest edition should always be on the website. Sometimes there are browser issues where it shows the last version instead of the most recent version. Let's see, I'm using Internet Explorer at the moment. It's probably a better idea to use Firefox. But the answer to your question is the most recent version is on the website. It's not been taken down. Next question.
Next question. If you are using a database such as InVivo or Primordial, do they provide automatic registry entry?
Registration? No. You have to register your own facilities, and you have to be able to provide them with automatic? I guess I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. Each of the certified vendors, yes, it does say September 2016, but that is the most recent, so I can double check that though. All right. Each certified vendor, as I said, has been authenticated. And with InVivo, I'm not certain which type of data extraction they're going to perform for you. They need to be able to perform a minimum data extraction. And the minimum data extraction, or the data fields, we just went through in the required data elements. They really should be able to, and I can verify this a little bit later after the call with our IT department. So I believe each and every one of these vendors can submit all 84 data fields. Now, how they do their data extraction, and if they're using your RIS or your billing or an EMR, EHR, it's entirely up to them how they want to perform that data extraction. And it's also up to them how they're going to submit the data on your behalf. Some of these vendors will do the data extraction and they will put the information in a flat file upload and simply present it to you, and you would do the upload portion. Some of these other vendors will do what's called a web-based submission, where they would call using an IP address, call to our central server, and then submit data via the cloud or the web. And it doesn't require a flat file upload. It's an entirely different function. I hope that helps. Next question.
When we add an exam that requires a follow-up, do we submit at the end or save and leave it in progress until all follow-ups are completed?
No, you don't want to leave it in a saved status rather than a submissions, or you can see the different status here. There's some that are in progress. In progress, for us, when I look at a case that's in progress, I think of it as incomplete data. The minimum data requirements have not been met. That's why it's in progress.